Hi, this is G from Energy Blends, and welcome back to part 2 of our protective piece. So I'm going to start with a 20 gauge round sterling soft, and using my pliers to anchor the wire, I'm going to wrap it twice. Now I know I've said in the past that 3 is the best amount of wrapping to keep, or twisting to keep the wire in place, but 2 works the best for this particular wrap. So I've used that double wrap and anchoring it at the bottom, and I'm going to run this tail through the hole on one side and the other tail through the hole on the other. And both are going to come out on the side over here. I'm going to twist twice again. Fold over the twist and run the wire through the center of the disc, just as I did before. Being careful not to let your wire twist and crimp. And then pull it up at the top and twist it 3 times so that it will be anchored in place. Okay. Now I'm going to do the same thing with this side. I'll put one wire through the center hole of the disc and have the other wire come through the other side, creating the same design element as I did on the left, my left. And again, I will make 2 twists. Fold the wire a little bit. I think I'm going to need to use my pliers. There we go. And again, pull the wire through the hole on one side and then the other. What I like about this design element, especially since we're making a protective piece, all right, here I am, I'm going to twist this 3 times at the top. Is that here is this design that kind of looks like a lifesaver on a boat. Kind of indicative of what we're trying to create, which is a protective piece. And then I'm going to connect these 2 pieces together fold this over, and now I'm going to add my tourmalinated quartz. I don't always get lucky to find beads that have a hole drilled wide enough for 20 gauge, but sometimes it happens. It works out very nicely. And that's the case with this particular one. Now, if this is considered the front of my piece, this has a little bit of a dent here. So we'll flip this over, and the other tail that's loose, we're going to connect that into what's considered the back of the crystal. Wrap it a few times to anchor it in place. And now what's left is to figure out what to do with these 2 tails. So I'm going to continue to twist because I'm going to create some kind of a spiral. I mean, you've noticed that in a lot of my pieces I include voids and spirals. Spirals also represent the void, or the universe, or nothingness, because out of nothing all things come. And I always like to look for ways to create some kind of a circular element that will create added energy or make the piece a little bit more powerful. So at this point, I'm ready to connect my first loop and allow that connection to continue to the other side. And what I'm going to do here is create a little bit of asymmetrical design. And allow this tail to come all the way down to our lifesaver. Now, I've done this design many, many times before, but I always find it interesting that with each piece, they're so individual that I never know exactly how it's going to end up. No two pieces are ever the same, which is why I've stopped making earrings. Now when I make earrings, one's always going to be a little different from the other, an asymmetrical pair. Some people are very good in making the same things over and over again. That's not what I do. So now, this is what I'm looking for. I like this asymmetrical element. So I'm going to finish this aspect of the wire by flipping it around, cutting off the end. I can always go back later with a file, make sure that there are no sharp edges. And in connecting this tail to the piece, I'm going to add a little bit of a design element. Let's see. By wrapping the wire around this one area. And by doing it on this side, I can make this design element somewhat subtle and not obvious. Because even though I want to anchor this in good, I don't want it to take over the visual nature of this piece. Even though we're sculpting energy, we still want to make a piece that is, from a design standpoint, relatively attractive. And something that will hold up during normal wear and tear. Not that I expect people to play touch football when they're wearing their jewelry, but sometimes things happen. And I think I can get away with maybe 2 more of these loops. Of course, the lighter the gauge the wire, the easier it is to manipulate it. 20 gauge starts getting a little bit challenging, because as you manipulate the wire, it tends to get stiffer and stiffer. So even though you're buying a soft wire or using a soft wire, it becomes more and more inflexible as you manipulate it. I think I have room to do maybe one more. Let's see. Now again, you could do this design with straight black tourmaline. And the nice thing about black tourmaline is its grounding nature, that it helps you to feel that much more aware. So you don't necessarily have to add quartz for clarity. You can allow awareness to be enhanced through the grounding nature. It's kind of the difference between eating an orange or drinking orange juice and having a glass of seltzer with squeezed orange into it. You have that solid black tourmaline element, or you can have a crisper cleaner with the added ingredient of quartz. I'm going to see if I can put one more loop in here. See if I can get some cooperation for just one more. If not, then I think no, it's not gonna let me. Let me see. Sometimes you have to yield to the crystal. Oh, look at that. We got a little cooperation. All right, this is the last one. If you work exclusively in the heavier gauge wires, you're going to have very strong fingers and hands. All right, I can now cut this off. And crimp down the end to flatten it in place. Come on, you can do it. And I can finish the rest of that and make it more symmetrical later on. This last bit is to create the neck where you'll be able to hang a cord or a chain through. And this is a relatively simple design piece, so I want to make a relatively simple neck to house that wire. But I do want to make it big enough because this is a fairly heavy piece, and some lighter chains may not hold up well, and the heavier chains are thick. So we want to make sure that that neck is open enough, wide enough. And that should be just fine. Yeah, that should be perfect. Okay. So let me finish off by getting rid of this tail. And I don't want to cover this loop that I've added. So I'm going to attach the neck by wrapping it around the area just above the bead. Kind of mimic what I've done on the bottom. When I finish wrapping this, I'm going to crimp the areas where the stone is sitting to tighten it up a little bit and to give it one last design element. We are almost done with our protection piece. Crimping down any sharp edges. And so now I'm going to do the same here by crimping these edges, making a design element. And you don't need to be specific about the direction. You can get crazy about it if you want, or make it very simple, just whatever feels right at the time. It's all about how the energy feels when you're done. And here is turquoise, tourmalinated quartz, protection through far vision, security, deflection of negative energy, and mindful awareness. This is G from Energy Blends. This was recipe number 4, and see you next time.